Hello everyone. Today we are discussing, as Jen has already discussed, the steel structure design bracing is our topic. What we are actually covering in this session is a practical aspect for structure design of bracing in steel structures. But this will start with the contents of today's seminar. This is the introduction, just our introduction of this. And we have a complete overview of the topic. We will go to the basic fundamentals related to the field, a simple demo or case study. We will go about the types and bracings, efficiency and effectiveness. Then we'll go to the latest development, state of the art in the bracing, and what is the evolutions or what is the current evolution going on in this field as far as the practicality of the bracing usage is concerned. Then what could be the career path for a job opportunity related to this particular area. With this, we'll start with the introduction. So, as you know, that is the introduction is bracing. So, first of all, we'll go to the lateral load resisting system. Right? There's a different two type of lateral load resisting systems. One is called moment resisting frame, which is basically we can consider that the load is transferred by the flexural actions in the rigid joints of the frames, members, columns, and beams. And the second one is a brace frame, right? So brace frame is nothing but the frames which are actually having a simple connections and having the bracings, the topic on which we are actually talking much more in the detail. So those are the basic two lateral load resisting system. Let's just have a comparative and comparison says that when you have a cost effectiveness, when you have a smaller scale structure system, that you have a span is less, load is less, then you can use the moment resisting frame. It could be cost effective. But when you have a control, you require to have a control on deflection, then the moment resisting systems, in case of lateral load resisting systems, is less effective compared to the brace frames. Brace frames, on the opposite side, it is very much cost effective for the large scale structure system where the load is large. When you have a load, the span is higher, the beam is having a more length. Then in that case, the effectiveness of the brace frame is more resisting frame. And also, the deflection control is very prominent when you're providing the bracing. Then the same is discussed today with the case study as well. So with this, these are the two lateral load resisting systems. When you go to the brace frame, why the bracing? What is the purpose of the bracing? So the main purpose of the bracing is to transfer the lateral load safely to the foundation, which is our predominant purpose, and also having the control on the lateral deflection of the building when it is subjected to lateral loads. So as we discussed, this is a comparative visual diagram or a system showing the both side of the system. Left hand side you can see the brace frames, and the right hand side is a moment resisting frame. As we discussed that in a pin in the brace frame, all joints which is shown here in a circle are the pin jointed or more. That is a theoretical word. What we have learned, it's a pin joint. But in the industry, we use this as a simple connection or shear connection. The connections of these columns and beams, which is circled here in the diagram, are mainly designed to transfer only the vertical and axial loads. There is no capacity to transfer the moment from beam to column, and hence it is known as a simple connection or a shear connection. On the opposite side, there is a moment resisting frame, as you know that when it is subjected to lateral loads, all the joints are rigid joints, which are nothing but the moment connection. That means they are capable or they are designed to transfer the moment, shear, and axial, three of the axials together. So there is a moment transfer from beam to column and column to beam, and hence the whole system is known as a moment resisting frame system. Going ahead, let's take what are the applications in the real world. I have a picture and view of that. That's it. It can be used in high-rise building. It's clearly seen here very well. The system is shown in the front face. There's a whole brace frame system. Yeah, here is also you can have a very good example. It's a special building and composite structure. So the building is actually made of the composite structure. So it is having the steel and RCC both component. But as a lateral load resisting system, main lateral load system is these bigger X brace, which is actually transferring the load, whole building load, lateral loads to the foundation. Steel bridges, we have already seen that that the bridges are always a truss type steel bridges are always having these bracings. Industrial buildings are very common to have in steel structure, and for many purposes it is required to be the brace type frame only, as we have discussed that when there is a load is very large amount of load and the spans are much more high lengther, then in that case bracings are very more preferred. And yeah, PEB, PFAs, these are pre-engineered building, prefabricated building, small shades, industrial shades. In that case, also you can see there is a bracing here. There is here bracing, which is called vertical bracing. There is a plan bracing as well as here you can see in the plan top roof. Yeah, and there is another system. There is a called as a spatial bracing for seismic damping. You can see here is some kind of a spatial arrangement here. This is a brace. This arrangement is spatial. It is spatial designed to take the seismic action by giving some damping to the structural system. So it is also one kind of the application of the bracing system. Moving on, what kind of the types? What are the different types of bracing? So there is a different way of differentiating the types of bracing based on location. As we have just discussed, that vertical bracing are more of the in the elevation. You can see in the elevation, those are the vertical bracing. There are also plant bracing, which is also known as a horizontal bracing. And that is based on connectivity, that is concentrically braced and eccentrically braced. There are two different pattern or type of bracing. And your nature of force, based on nature of force, there is a compression brace which is known as a strut bracing. It carries only compression, and there is a tension brace which is called as a tie bracing. Then based on functionality, functionality is a regular bracing and the spatial bracing. Regular bracing are the spatial regular purpose bracing, while the spatial bracing are, as we have discussed, in buckling distance brace. We'll see in later. Structural dampers are one of the example of structural dampers we have seen here. That vertical bracing we have seen here. Type here we have seen the horizontal bracing in plan. What is a concentrically brace and eccentric brace, which is a very more important terminology in respect to the practical design of the bracing. So we go in detail with this. I think others are very simple to understand, but this is very important. Concentrically braced and eccentrically braced. Let's go ahead with that. So two major types: concentrically braced frames, concentrically braced frame. Concentrically braced frame, you can see here there are n number of examples you have written. You have shown here. What is a concentrically? Here all the joints. See, you can see here the joints are meeting at a common point. You see here this member is meeting with this column and being with this at the center. This one, yeah, this one, yeah. So every members are meeting at the common point. There is no offset between the points of meeting of two members. So those are known as a concentrically braced frame, which are most common form of the system. We can see the design and detailing is very simple compared to the other type, which is eccentrically braced system. This concentrically braced systems are frames are easy to design and detail. Going to the second type, which is eccentrically braced frames. Here are the examples of the eccentrically braced frames. You can see on the screen this A, B, C, D, E, F, different kind of. And what is actually notable is here the points are not meeting at the common point. There is some offset. Let's here is E. Here is E. This brace is not meeting to the beam column junction. It is actually offsetted with some amount of E. Here in V bracing kind of thing is left hand side and right hand side. These all offsets are generally known as a links. You can see here in the bottom part, the deflected, yielded shapes of the different systems are shown, and those yielded points are known, or yielded portion of this brace are known as a link element. Right? It's a special form of system. The design and detailing is complex compared to the concentrically braced system used to resist. Where it has been used, what is the purpose of doing this? Yes, so it is actually utilizing the material post yield strength by giving the opportunity to yield them beyond the elastic limit, and these yielding will actually absorb the extra energy during the earthquake scenario. So they are used to resist the large earthquake forces, and by identification of the yielded zones, as we have discussed recently, uh, identification of yielded zone called link. It has been shown here. So these are two major type of the systems, concentrically and eccentrically braced frames. These good types of bracing we have already discussed. Let's go to the next point. What could be the choice? How to decide which type of the bracing should be chosen in the our structural system? Then there should be some factors should be considered while choice of the bracing. Let's go one by one. One is a passage requirement for equipment, ducts, industrial instruments, any other functional requirements. If you need some space, then you have to make the space open in vertical space. Amount and nature of lateral load, whether it is a reversible or irreversible type of nature of the force is there. Interaction between adjoining member like columns and beam, what the interaction you need, like if you need to have the link, then you can choose the eccentrically braced, not the concentrically braced system. Then the strength requirement and connection requirements. Connection requirement is very much important when you are choosing the bracing, because there is a junction. You can see here, and there is a whatever type you choose, any kind of type you are choosing, there is a connection. There's a common connection. Here you can see this is a common connection between beam, column, and the brace in an X type of brace. Wherever here there is the connection type will be different. It will be going to connect to the beam element only at the upper end, and the lower end it could be a connection between the beam column, both the beam and column as well. So that is also one kind of the factor which can be considered during the choice of bracing. Then any other non-structural reasons, like there might be some requirement of architecture or functional requirement in particular. You see, somebody will, the owner will say that I have to be here, the open space. You cannot put the whole brace, X type of brace, and block the passage into column, or I require the minimum vertical clearance or horizontal passage between two columns to pass some material or some due to some functionality. Right? So these are the different factors which can be considered while choice of the bracing. Let's go the quick comparative overviews of the types of bracing patterns, different type of bracing patterns. I have shown here the just a single bay, a single story, but it could be a multiple bays and multiple stories as well. See, one is a single diagonal brace tension compression both, X cross brace. You can see the X tension compression only. It is also known as a tension and compression only. Here it is known as tension compression both, because when this particular system is going to be subjected to lateral load and from left to right, then this member will going to be the tension. But when the load will be reversed, it will going to the right to the left, it will going to compression. So the same member is going to be act as a tension brace as well as the compression brace. So both, it is called as tension and compression, both will take by this particular bracing system. Wherever here X bracing is when it can be tension compression only bracing, then you can choose it if it is with tension only, kind of you can use the wires only here. Then it is a tension only brace, where it, as you know, the tension is not having compression strength. It will not take any compression. So the one which is having a compression is going to buckle, or it will not take any force. All the force will go to the tension type wire brace only. So it is a X cross brace. Then a chevron brace, K brace is also, there is a name of K because it is a vertical upside down K is there here, a beam and this K. Then we have a A-type chevron brace. These are the basic comparisons between this different systems, and it is very useful when you want to choose the bracing amongst the various options. So it is a single diagonal brace, it is a single direction bracing. What I've said, single direction bracing. It is the simplest form used for low magnitude lateral force, obviously because the same brace has to take the compression and tension both. Hence, it is required to take it is used to take the lower magnitude lateral forces. Only one support need to resist all the lateral loads, because when the loads are coming to this support is only going to be taking all the lateral loads transferred to. Here there will not be any transfer of the lateral load. So these will go to this way, through these only. Same bracing members has to be designed as a tie and strut member. As we have discussed, tie is the member which should be designed for the tension force, and the strut member is the member which should be designed for the compression force. So here the same brace should be designed as a tension tie member and strut member. Going to the second type, it is a dual direction bracing that we have discussed, used for high lateral force resisting system. Obviously, there is an advantage because you have a two and you are utilizing the tension capacity only. So obviously, steel is very good in the tension. You will take, you will, it can be take high lateral force, more effective in deflection control. Obviously, this is very much effective in deflection control. Choice of sharing of lateral force between two bracing by combined action of tie and strut. This could be possible. When you say the tension compression only, we can use on the both as well, like the dual of these. So both will take tension and compression. So the effectiveness will much more increase compared to the tension only itself. Also, choice to design system as tension only member, as we discussed only. The tension only can be done. Then chevron brace, dual direction bracing for relatively large distance between two columns. So see, when you have a very large distance between two columns, between which you have to put you are required to put the bracings. If the distance is very large, you cannot put from left to right a single member. It is not cost effective. It is not optimized design. So in that particular case, you have to put this way. Shorten your brace length by connecting this to the center of the beam and here center of the beam. So dual direction bracing here both are dual direction bracing. One is compression and one is in tension. And for large distances we are using, it is more effective compared to when it is a large distance. It is more effective than the other two. Most commonly used pattern. It is mostly used pattern. The common pattern is that bracings are required to take gravity loads along with the lateral, which is very important to understand from the practical perspective. See, when you are connecting between the beams, you are supporting the beam from the midway. So this before bracing, this has to span from left to right, and it should be as a simply supported, like having a left and right connections are simple connections. So it would require to be take a load in a simply supported beam manner. But when you put the brace, it will be going to in a continuous beam type. The brace will also take some part of the gravity load which is coming from this beam, and hence the bracings are required to take the gravity loads, and it should be designed for that as well. You cannot directly you only rely on the lateral load resisting systems and you only put the lateral loads in the design, then it will be not sufficient in the design. See, E-type chevron brace is each E-type chevron brace is a modified version of the chevron brace. All the points of chevron brace applicable. So these points are applicable for these. Use in the case effective buckling or lateral resistance is required to bracing members. And if you have these height, vertical column height is large, say 10, 15 meters, and you have to require only one this kind of bracing only. Then in that case, this length will be very much larger and it will be susceptible to the buckling. To avoid the buckling, we are actually providing the extra support, lateral support to this brace by providing a horizontal member. So use in the case effective buckling or lateral resistance is required to bracing members and commonly used when the length of bracing is exceptionally more. The length will be going to be more exceptionally, then in that case only we have to require this kind of system. Going further, this is a brace chevron. So this is also one kind of something kind this way only. Here we have provided the horizontal member, but there is no connectivity between this to this or this to this connection beam column. Here this particular structure system is having the connection between this to this. So again, this inclined member is actually effective to reduce the length of this brace, which is a major brace. This is a minor brace. Then we have a V brace. As we were discussing our requirement or a choice of the choice of the bracing, that there may be some kind of obstacles or maybe some kind of duct or instrument which is going between somewhere. So in this kind of case, there is one circuit is going on, then in that case, you might be required this kind of bracing. You cannot provide the other way, this way, because now it is not possible because this is coming through this particular bay, hence you have to put the V brace. Then again, we have a single brace. We have a diagonal block. This the half upper diagonal is blocked because something is required to pass from here. The passage is required. For that, you have to require a single brace kind of special system. Yeah, that's a knee brace kind of what we have discussed. Like one some clearance, vertical clearance is required. Something is going to be passed from between. Then you have to have put kind of knee brace, a half brace systems. Right. The advantage or at the points what we have for this. So all the points of chevron. Obviously, it is a modified version. Again, the modified version of the chevron brace. So the same is applicable. The additional members in regular chevron helps in force distribution. Yeah, there's also because this is a connectivity, the lateral load will going also to pass from this system. So overall effectiveness in the last past one, this one was not contributing directly to the force distribution or force transfer. Here we have a this system, we have this member to take some part of the force, some part will go this way, some part will go this way from this way. So it is taking some point. The additional members in regular chevron helps in force distribution as well as providing lateral support to main strut members, commonly used when the length of bracing is exceptionally more, as we have discussed in the modified version 1. We have a V-brace inverted chevron type. It is also actually inverted chevron. It is upside down. Used when some excess space is required near to bottom of top beam, that is space required to pass any tucked in industrial structure. The bottom beam should be designed. Yeah, here it is required. The bottom beam should be designed to take this load coming from the brace, and this can be converted if the system. This beam has to take in a flexural. So beam and this brace will put the loads coming from this bracing to the center of the beam, and beam is required to take and it has to be designed to take loads. Then single brace, a special form of bracing when there is a space required for any passage as shown above in any of the corner. If it is this way, this will be other way. Like here to here and this way. A knee brace is a special form of bracing when there is space required for any passage as shown above. The columns are carefully designed to take the actions from the brace because here you have to understand that the brace will actually, this is kind of a modified version of the moment resisting frame system only, but the system is having the reactions transferred from knee brace to the columns height and the beams. So both beams and column both are required to design for the actions which are coming from the knee to the particular members. Less effective compared to all of the others. All the others are more effective compared to this because there is no complete system. Right? There is a part system of the brace. Going ahead, basic fundamentals for the fields. You might be knowing that for this system, whatever structural system we have done is a brace frame system. It requires in practical, you need to know the actual design forces, and for that, the members are required to be designed. For that, what the fundamentals we might be knowing about the topic is the idealization and modeling of the brace frame, which is very important. You have to idealize the system actually before the construction, because once you design it, you detail it, each and every connection will be detailed, drawings will be prepared, and then the fabrication will be done, and then the construction will be done. So it should be idealized on the paper first, then the modeling should be done based on those idealization, which is very important. After the completion of this step, you have to go to the structural analysis of the brace frames. Then from that, you have derived structural actions which can be produced in the bracings. Considering those structural actions, you have to do the structural design of members, and after that, you have to also design, which is very, very important, the connection of the bracing members, which is very important. Right? So this is the basic fundamentals. You can see that what is required. We quickly go through it in a very swift manner and in effective manner. Let's go to the first point, idealization and modeling of the brace map. So what is the idealization? Idealization, how it should be idealized. So for that, you have to consider some of the basic assumptions. Those assumptions are bracing connections are pin connection, which is we already know, we were studying in our academics. That means there is no transfer of the moments going between the 2 points. Yeah, or bracing connection will not transfer any moments. In most of the cases, bracing members are taking only axial forces as an internal actions. So no bending moment and no shear force in the bracing members. Right? I have put some here the condition. The most of the cases will go in detail where it is required to take the bending moment and shear force as well. But the ideation would not be as a brace. because and conditions of the brace is that the connection should be pin connection and member has to take axial force on it. There is also third ideation or assumption that self-weight of the bracing member is negligible because self-weight is a distributed weight. If you take it as self-weight, then it might be having the bending in that due to self. So for that, if the bracings are exceptionally large in size and weight, then you have to design as a beam column member, not bracing. But in a common way, normal way, we are taking as a self-weight of bracing is negligible. Negligible. Now, and it is assumed that the lateral loads are resisted by bracing members. We are actually assuming that all the lateral loads will be resisted by the bracing members only. Right? There will not be any other flexural actions. Brace frames are modeled with the hinge supports. You have to support on the hinge. There should not be any brace fixity at the bottom, because when you fix it, the connection which is at the end will be going to be fixed. But as our ideation says that bracing connections are pin connection, hence all the supports required to be having a hinge support in the model. Then bracing members are modeled as a truss members or members with release specification. The truss member specifications is actually forcing the analysis to take that the member is going to take only axial forces, either compression or the tension, but there will not be any moment. But there is also or members with release specification. Release specification is somewhat is when you are considering the self weight. If you are taking the self weight and the later loads, then you have to take these specification. Otherwise, in the most of the cases, you have to take as a truss members. When modeled as a truss member, no other member, if your bracing is subjected to wind load from the transverse direction, then it should be required to model as a release specification, not as a truss member. So which is very important to consider in the modeling and ideations. Going further, the structural analysis of the brace frame. What could be the method of the analysis? As we have discussed that all the joints are pin jointed and the members are modeled as a truss, the modeling as a pin jointed truss element. The analysis method depend on the structural indeterminacy. You might be knowing everybody that in academics we have taught the structural indeterminacy, which is being short for, we know that as SI. So when is a structure is determinate kind of structure, because in the case where SI is equal to 0, so you might be having a two method for the solution. One is a joint method and the another is a section method. It can be applied. But when the structure is indeterminate, and which is the most of the cases, 99% of the cases of the practical design are actually structurally indeterminate, because that indeterminate structure are more economic and more optimized option against the determinate structure. So major structures, what we will be going in a practicality are this indeterminate structure. So in the case where SI is greater than 0, you can use energy principle or matrix method for that. And you all will be aware about the commercial softwares in the market available nowadays for the solution of the analysis as a structural engineering tool. All the commercial softwares use the matrix method, which is a stiffness method of the analysis for the solution. So you can use the method of analysis based on the SI, as we've discussed. If SI is 0, joint method, section method, that's your choice. Structure is indeterminate, again, that's your choice. You can go for the energy principle methods. And the another name is a flexibility methods or the matrix methods, which can be a stiffness method. And if you are using any commercial software, or even you can prepare your code if you know that some software languages, then you can be a programming language, then you can prepare a program based on this energy principle and matrix methods. Okay? Going ahead for that, the structural actions. So once you will do structural analysis, you will be going to have the output from this software or program or a method, a hand calculation you are doing, right? So what are the outputs? The outputs are the structural actions. So it is a member internal actions and the deflection of the structure. As explained, idealized as a pin jointed truss element, hence only axial compression or axial tension forces you can be having as an output. The one member might be having some tension, another is having some compression, and so on. Depending upon the nature of lateral force, either it could be a compression or tension force, it may be reversible. So depending on nature of lateral force, what it means to say that